Hey guys, welcome back. This is Pamela with Pamela's Tarot Tales. Hashtag 31 Days of Tarot, day 24. Today is tarot card that you feel is the most misunderstood. And this is actually really perfect. There's quite a few, I'm sure there's quite a few cards that I feel are misunderstood, but the one that is really striking a chord for me today is the Three of Swords. And I'm personally having a kind of a very Three of Swords day, so it's actually perfect that we are taking a look at this card. People traditionally just think of this card as pain and grief and loss and suffering and, copious amounts of hurt. And while that is some aspect of this card, and I've talked a little bit about this in another video, but this card is so much more than grief and loss. And when you really think about it and look at it and break it down and process and take that into the heart space and in the mind space, this is a card that, yes, can talk about loss. Yes, it can talk about grief. But it also talks about where the mind can perpetuate that. With this being swords, and when we think of emotions, we tend to think of cup suit. But this is about the mind and how the mind can perpetuate or dissipate grief and loss. And so it's about the processing. It's about the mental aspects that you go through and the trials and tribulations that contribute to that, but also push you past it and can help you heal and help you grow. Threes are about growth, and sometimes you can't grow if you are, having these three swords stuck in you. It can't expand. It needs to break that away, and sometimes that is painful. Growth can be painful. Growth, while ultimately is always wonderful, but sometimes the process there is hard. And so that's something that's really important. This is from the Pam's Vintage. This one is from the Textured Tarot. And I have a hard time with cards that only portray that hurt and the anguish, and because it's only from that place that you can grow. It's only from that place that you can really shed off that layer. You can work through it. You can learn from it. You can heal. You can take that into lessons learned. So cards that only show that anguish side or that stuck side is so demeaning in a way to the meaning of the cards. And every card has light and shadow, and I'm sure we could say that about a lot of cards, for instance. But this one mainly bothers me because, we've talked about this, that cliche heart and the rain. Anyway, not what this video is about, but I wanted to show how the Tarot de Marseille decks show, two things coming together. These are things that come to a melting point. They come to a point where they cross. And it's pushing through that, growing through that. What's going to mentally push you to help you get past it, or to learn from it, or to heal from it? Otherwise, you're going to keep repeating patterns. This same cycle is going to happen over and over and over again because you're not learning from the lessons that are imbued in these crossroads. So when you take and you learn from that, you can break those cycles. You can learn from it. You can heal. You can work on your heart space. You can work on your mind space. And you can work on how those two interact so that you can perpetuate healing and perpetuate a positive outcome, even though the journey or the cycle may feel kind of rough. And growth can also be very happy. That's why I think that card doesn't do it justice, because threes, their growth, when we grow in the mind, when we learn things, when that stretches us, it it helps us develop. It helps us to be better human beings. And sometimes that's hard, and sometimes it's easier. So I think this one from this one's from Tarot de Nostradamus, or Tarot of the Centuries is another name for that deck. This one is from the Starchild. Sorry, it's, you guys, I'm having a Three of Swords kind of day, so bear with me. But this one, it shows a little bit more of that aspect, you know, where we need to nurture. And sometimes when we are vulnerable, when we, or we feel vulnerable through that process, through that disruption, that things that can kind of push us and help those ideas from the twos grow, you know, sometimes those things need to be nurtured and cared for and loved, and you know, we need some hand holding through that. And then other times you don't. But either way, whatever you need for your nurturing, whatever you need for your growth, sometimes it's you need people to go away and leave you alone, and other times you need people to support you and hold you and be there for you, and sometimes you don't. So those are things that I think that card just doesn't, in most decks, don't represent that, in my opinion. And so I like this representation quite a bit, because these swords are very close to her body. This one she's even cradling, not ready to let go yet. So what are the things that we're choosing to hold on to, that choose to continue to hurt us? What do we choose to carry with us? What is our baggage? Why would we, you know, work with that? Why do we need to continue to work with that? At what point have you processed it out? At what point, or is it going to continue to be a cycle? How do you choose to heal? How do you choose to work through this process? How do you choose to grow? And how do you choose to deal with grief, loss, pain? I choose to see the positive. I choose to see the growth, and I choose to work through that no matter what. So holding on to that and looking at these images is really helpful. So anyway, that's some of my thoughts on the Three of Swords and working with the energies of the Three of Swords, and how you know, that just makes sense to me when I look at threes in the element of the numerology and look at it as element of growth. So I hope that was helpful. I think it's an interesting thing to really contemplate, and I will see you guys soon. Like and subscribe. See you guys soon. Bye.